half the money I spend on advertising works. The problem is I don't know which half.
For entrepreneurs and businesses scaling up, the real challenge is cracking the marketing code and understanding what really works. So how are the leading brands tackling this?
But if you want to build something that's going to do hundreds of millions in revenue and end up in Walmart, then you might have to think about some of these other things.
By building the platform that powers influencer marketing for over 1,500 brands from Mont Blanc to NordVPN and navigates a universe of 250 million creators, Avery has a rare frontline view of the strategies that build success and the expensive mistakes to avoid.
What's the biggest mistake e-commerce brands are making right now?
Brands are getting their customers addicted to discount codes.
So if constantly slashing prices is a race to the bottom, how do you win friends for your brand and build community through influencers? Beyond the sales, what actually matters? Influencer marketing became like a performance channel. I feel like that just kills the whole thing, you know?
The marketing team goes, no one's ever asked me that before.
But standing out is just the first step. How do you turn that attention into lasting loyalty and become the only choice when your customer has a problem you can solve?
Basically, what you're trying to do as a brand is to get in front of your audience as many times as possible and be top of mind when they actually have a problem that you can solve.
Get Avery's unfiltered insights on ditching the discount trap, building real brand love, and mastering networking next on Winning Friends. Welcome to Winning Friends, a podcast where we make friends with interesting entrepreneurs and business leaders over a coffee. I'm Logan Merrick.
And I'm Dylan Hay. And today we have with us Avery Schrader, CEO and co-founder of Modash. And I believe you also just locked in a $12 million Series A round recently, right? So congratulations for
We
this.
did, thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, fun to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. So tell us a little bit about Modash real quick. It's an influencer marketing platform, right?
Yeah, basically like essentially every consumer brand on earth wants to do more with content creators, and but once you decide to grow by partnering with creators, you hit a whole bunch of challenges, and we solve all those challenges. So we help Shopify stores scale creator partnerships, basically.
Nice. And that's something that's going to be interesting for us to talk about today, right? It's like this creator economy, especially.
Yeah. I'm really curious to kind of dive into this a little bit more and understand. Nice. And so Modash, like what's the, I guess, the unique perspective that you guys bring to the market?
Oh, I think there's a few. It depends on what angle you kind of ask from, but I think
this one,
like this. Yeah, right. Yeah. Thank you.
That 90 degrees.
yeah. But you mean from like product perspective or from like which?
Well, yeah, I guess because you've got a two-sided marketplace. So what do you bring to the consumer? What do you bring to the business on the B2B angle, and what do you bring to the creator?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, the mission of the company basically started to help every creator earn a living, and so we looked at the creator economy. We said, where's all the money come from? And we realized that it's all from brands. Mm-hmm. But I had learned from Bolt and Verif and some other companies that as much as people want to spend money on creators, they're really bad at it. Mm-hmm. They can't figure out how to deploy more cash.
It's hard.
And so we just dug into what causes that set of challenges. And the first thing we found was there's basically no access to data. It's really hard to even identify people who you could partner with. And so on the brand side, we solve a ton of challenges, but data is kind of at the bottom. The first product we had was a search engine. So we list like 300 million content creators. You can find the Argentinian yoga influencer that speaks Swahili to young men in like half a second and get their contact information and reach out to them and do all that stuff inside of Modash. So that's what we do on the brand side. And then for creators, the output is deals. You make money. Yeah.
Are you mostly focused on the creator side?
No. So the magic of Modash is that the creator almost never has to log into the tool. So they only have to sign in to accept money. Otherwise, they don't have to do anything, which is part of what makes Modash kind of unique.
How do I get on Modash? That sounds really good.
Well, if you're a creator and you have more than 1,000 followers, you're already in Modash. That's like how it works.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm in Modash.
Superstar over here.
Across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we focus on the kind of consumer space.
Rubbish. Yeah. Thank you guys for,
And so like we're here in Estonia. Mm-hmm. None of us sat at this table are Estonian. Like I founded an e-Residency business, and then I ended up moving to Estonia, lived here for 6 years or so. You're Canadian. Logan, you're a mix of multiple things, right? We were joking around earlier.
We don't have time to get into it.
Yeah, we'll do family histories on another episode. But like
his ancestry report linked in the description below.
Yeah. But so did you have a conscious focus on like, okay, I'm going to move here and build a company here? Or did this just like kind of happen? Because for me, it was very random. So I'm curious, how did you end up
Yeah, it was pretty
founding an
random.
Estonian company.
Most Canadians, unfortunately, and it's their loss, but most Canadians still couldn't like point Estonia out on a map, I think.
Yeah.
And so, as embarrassing as that is to say out loud, so yeah, it was a little random. Basically, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and I was trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with my life. So as soon as I could buy a plane ticket, I left the middle of nowhere. That was step one. I ended up in Germany, and
It's lucky there was a plane in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, well, it was a couple hours away, yeah, for sure. But and then like 4 flights to get to Germany. Yeah, but then I just chopped vegetables and climbed rocks in Germany. Eventually thought like maybe I should do something with my life, and I had heard about startups, which was the first thing that ever. It was the first thing that ever got me so excited that I could kind of pour myself into. And I heard about it kind of at the same time I heard about Estonia, the Silicon Valley of Europe.
Right.
And I thought like, okay, Estonia, no one knows where that is. If I can go there and I don't die, I'm also like a real adult.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I just moved to Estonia, and
Now you're a real adult.
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Cool.
I'm
And
not-
you survived.
Yeah, we made it through.
yeah. And so that was how I ended up here.
So you said you found out about this startup world, right?
Yeah.
Was focusing in on the creator economy, was that like you picked this intentionally? You were looking at a bunch of ideas, or like why
Basically-
the creator economy?
I basically see content creation as a few 100 million people who do something that they really love, and found a way to share that with the world. I think it's a really cool thing. Creators are not Kim Kardashian. It's like way more like this kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so growing up, because I live truly in the middle of nowhere, we don't have sidewalks, let alone like Starship robots delivering your food on the sidewalk. And so content creators were the thing that showed me the rest of the world existed, basically.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it was rocks and trees and like fishermen and boats and stuff like that. And I didn't want to be a fisherman. So that which gives you a kind of feeling of like being trapped in this, like in the forest.
Mhm.
So I saw, but then you see Casey Neistat on a boosted board with a GoPro riding down New York City streets as fast as he can on his way to unbox like the new iPhone. It's like, wait, what? This is possible? And so I was hooked on this creation thing from a really early age, and I started making stop motion videos. And
So you were a creator for a while?
yeah, so I always stayed with it. I was terrible. I used to make these horrible, cringy vlogs and and all kinds of stuff. And then when I moved to Estonia, instead of like I originally went to university, but I hated it. It was horrible. I left really quickly, and then but I wanted to learn how to build companies. No one would talk to me because like, who are you? Some weird university student. Until I bought a microphone. And then I bought a microphone, started knocking on doors, and suddenly I could sit down with basically anybody I wanted to and ask them any of the questions I wanted to. And that's basically how I learned to build companies.
Really? So as soon as you had a microphone, people start talking to you?
Yeah, you have an excuse, right? It's like, hey, do you want to like meet up with me so I can ask you random questions for no apparent reason? It doesn't really work. But do you want to sit down? I want to record this podcast thing where I tell the stories of like cool entrepreneurs. And then I just knocked on the door at Prototron and like bothered all the startups working in the accelerator here. And one of the companies there, Weps, was like a chatbot website builder a few years ago. They were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And we sat down with a lapel mic on a desk and recorded the show. And then it kind of snowballed it from there. So we went like Weps early stage, eventually interviewed like Ragnar Sass, and then started doing live shows and got to talk to Peter Westerbakke and Taizo-san, like Japanese billionaires. And so content creation unlocked essentially infinite opportunity for me, which was something that I thought would be really cool to bring to a lot of people.
In your role as like CEO now, are you still making a conscious effort to continue producing content? Do you still view yourself somewhat as a content creator, or are you like, have you parked that to the side, or how does this work for you?
I love it so much. Like creators, I think that's part of what has helped make Modash successful is that most humans' worldview of a content creator is sort of a prima donna selling their own bathwater or something like that.
You can do that too if you want. Yeah.
Bikini photos.
Yeah, like people have a really bad connotation, and nobody follows any influencers, by the way. That like nobody, if you ask somebody, hey, which influencers do you follow? Not me.
Yeah.
Influencers, no. And then you check their YouTube search history, and it's like Marcus Brownlee and like the tech reviewer. Oh, this guy's not an influencer. He's an athlete. He's a rock climber. He's a tech guy. He talks about software engineering. He plays video games. These aren't influencers. These are people with my interests. And so I think part of what gave us an advantage was, or has given us an advantage, is that we really love and appreciate the content creator, and we understand that what's good for them is good for customers too, good for brands. And so I forgot your question entirely, but
my question was like, no, but this was very interesting.
Me too.
Yeah, my bad question. Let's rephrase this. No, as a CEO, are you still actively producing and creating content?
I think like definitely not the way I was before. I'm kind of one track minded, if you will. So I like to obsess over a very small number of things. So content creation kind of got pushed to the side. I spend a lot of time now writing, and I get to work with our marketing team, who's like really good, and support them and learn from them and maybe help them a little bit too. So I still get to flex the content creation muscle, especially internally. Like I wrote a like a 40-page cultural document called the Manifesto internally, which to me kind of scratches that itch too. It's like so yes and no.
Do you consider yourself a creator?
100%. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think because the success of our business has been built initially off the back of my own personal content creation. As we've grown and scaled, it would have been like silly of me, in my opinion, to stop doing that. Like I run a service business, right? I run an advertising agency. And so the way that most people discover our services is through LinkedIn content creation. And so I still view myself as a content creator, but it's evolved as the team has grown. Because like my job now I don't want to be everything is about me. Whereas at the beginning, it had to be that way because I didn't have a team at the beginning, right? Whereas now it's like, how can I empower others on my team to see the same kind of benefits from producing content that I've seen? Because for me, it's helped me grow and scale a pretty decent sized business right now. But that's not the only thing that can come from content creation, right? Even on LinkedIn, for example, we can have people that when someone joins my company, my goal is when they leave, because everyone is going to leave at some point. You can't have this idea that you're going to like keep everyone forever. So when they leave, I want them to go somewhere better or do something better. And I think being a content creator is a very easy way to stand out in this sea of thousands of other people when they're applying for roles or other things. So I see my role as like a CEO. Content creation is just a small part of it, but for me, it's a very important part of the piece. But what about you?
No, I feel like an imposter when I say that, because I only just sort of started doing a lot more content, like maybe in the last 6 months, and it's only, I feel like it's only very recent that I've had some significant traction. So I feel like to call myself a creator, I don't know.
My point is that these like weird labels that we sometimes like try to apply to ourselves are not come so much from trying to fight the self-doubt of like imposter syndrome. And the truth is you should make stuff. Yeah.
Because like one of my learnings too is I cringe myself out all the time. Yeah. All the time. And like, even I look back, you said you used to create like videos and vlogs and stuff like this. Before I started my company, when I was working remotely for a Finnish company, I also was like doing this digital nomad thing, and I created a few vlogs, and I look back on those now and I'm like, that cringes me out so hard, but it's like such an enjoyable part of the process, like looking back on these. And even now with content creation, it's like, it doesn't matter if it cringes you out, if that one piece of content is helpful for one person or puts you in front of, for me, like one CMO at a SaaS company that wants their ads run for them, it's like, then it's worth it,
Yeah, then it worked.
Yeah, I think it's the advice I give to people when they say like, how do I overcome this self-doubt with content creation? My advice probably isn't the best, because I'm normally like, well, just forget about it. Like no one's gonna remember your Instagram post or your LinkedIn post in 3 days time. Like you just have to push through these things. But I know
I think there's something to be said too for like the reason that people would hesitate to create content is because they're afraid. Usually they're afraid of what other people will think about them. And the question is, do you want to live your life worried about what other people think about you? And if you do, then like don't fight that at all and just lean into it and don't produce anything. But if that's not who you want to be, then maybe make something.
But so how do you not feel that fear and imposter syndrome?
Oh, just feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just feel it and just do it anyway.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, so I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, you're doing good. That's what I mean. That's why I said you're a content creator. You create content.
Yeah, because it's also like that imposter syndrome is natural for anything that's new for you as well, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how you learn and grow and get better at things, is by doing them consistently. Like in the creator economy or the creator space right now, you must see some very interesting data sets, I would imagine, of like what's working, what's not working, what people are interested in. Like what is a maybe counterintuitive trend or something that is working right now for creators?
I think that on the creator side, it's almost the same as what's working on the brand side, which is sort of this like embrace of sort of creative exploration more. Like people are doing more weird stuff. There's less algorithm hacking behavior. There's like a lot of people now who have built a really strong community, not just optimizing thumbnails and titles. Those things are very important and whatever, especially if you're building a business and you're like optimizing around that. But I see a lot more creators that are essentially making movies on YouTube, and they're not thinking about like, okay, I have to publish every day, 3 times a day, and make sure my description is SEO optimized or whatever. They're like trying to make a great piece of art. And I think that's one thing that I see that's really cool. On the brand side, which I thought about a little bit before this, I think the thing that I hope, like the counterintuitive trend I see amongst the people that are doing this very well and being super successful, because there's a lot of people who are like bombing hard in influencer partnerships, is sort of getting back to this idea of we sort of went too hardcore into performance, and the consequences of that are hurting a lot of companies. And so now we're kind of coming back to like a healthier balance of performance brand mix, I think, where what you're optimizing for is the people in my audience think of me when they have the problem I solve. And that's brand, basically.
That's interesting because I feel like for a long time, influencer marketing became like a performance channel. And I think it was never meant to be a performance channel. So then like every time that there's a promo or something, there's like a discount code. And I feel like that just kills I don't know, it kills the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, it's really bad for a lot of reasons. One of them is that if you're a e-commerce business and you train your customer to use discount codes, then you're basically like discounting future cash flow indefinitely. You are destroying your margins over time, and you're making it really hard once you get bigger to go into places like retail, because why would I go to Walmart and buy your thing without a discount code? And this becomes really, really difficult for brands that are trying to build something meaningful. There is some like ways around these things. One thing you asked for practical advice. There's a piece of advice that I haven't heard almost anyone talk about in this promo code addiction thing, which is that if you're an e-commerce brand right now, and you have an issue of code leakage where Honey and all these people are grabbing your codes and then redistributing them everywhere, you can make exclusive deals with those companies to only list one code. So you have to call all of them and tell them, don't list any of our other codes. We'll give Honey a code, and we'll even give you the commission on that or whatever.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I think I've seen there are even SaaS products now that are like dedicated to discount code management and things like this, right?
Yeah, and there's no solution. The only solution is to either reduce your reliance on codes, make them expire fast, all that kind of stuff. Ideally, just reduce your audience's reliance on codes. I think that's my preferred. But if you feel super obligated to discount everything, then cut deals with the platforms that are reselling your discount codes.
Did you find that a challenge when you were running your e-commerce business?
Yeah, so we just went through this a platform called Share a Sale, which is an affiliate marketing platform, and we just announced to all of these deal websites that, you know, here's your exclusive deal. You get 1% commission on everything that goes through this discount code, and yeah, that was it.
Do you think e-commerce brands can avoid discounting entirely now?
Yes.
Even though probably all of their competitors are running discount codes that are available? Like, is this something?
Yeah, to be honest, I think like, you know, everything is down to, I've been thinking a lot about how all of the problems, all of like the more acute pains of like discount, redemption, whatever, how to measure people, how to recruit people, how to find people, all that stuff, it's all downstream from purpose. It's like something I think a lot about. What the hell are you trying to do? I get to look at and be involved in probably 100 interactions with marketing teams a week where we ask them questions about how they think about their marketing strategy, because that's like what our sales team does. And so, and it is shocking to me how often we ask, so what's the company trying to accomplish? And the marketing team goes, no one's ever asked me that before.
No kidding.
And then, you know, maybe we help them. So sometimes we coach them and we say, okay, well, what's the CEO talking about in all hands? What are the big themes for the year? And sometimes you can sift it out and you're like, okay, so it sounds like you're trying to become to get a meaningful foothold in London and maintain profitability in 2025. That sounds like kind of roughly what you're trying to do. How should influencer marketing contribute to that if we're talking to an influencer team lead? And a lot of the times they go, No one's ever asked me that before.
Hmm.
And so all of this stuff becomes like very, very downstream from the intention. What are you trying to accomplish? And so I think that your question was about whether this is super necessary.
Mhm.
And I think the answer is no in most cases, but it depends on what you want to accomplish.
I think that no one ever buys from a brand because of a discount.
My angle was more like, if I have the very similar or same product as my 3 competitors, and my 3 competitors are all running 20% discount codes, 10% discount codes, and then I'm the brand that's not running anything, like, am I going to lose out to my competition?
I think you're fighting a losing battle,
Right.
and discounting is only something that you would do to bide for time. But I think ultimately you have to re-strategize on like, how do we stand out in this particular marketplace? Because
maybe one way to think about this is like, don't fight pricing wars, and if you're going to fight a pricing war, be prepared to win.
Have a better product too, right? It's like this must be a key, this should be a key focus too.
I mean, if you're going to drop ship the same thing from Alibaba that 9,000 other people are drop shipping with no concept of like why anyone should buy your thing, then you're going to get trapped in a discount war. You need to build something that matters.
I know we talked a little bit a few minutes ago about the kind of like what the goal is with influencer marketing, like how that's changed from, okay, it was very performance driven. Now we're seeing more of a brand focus being poured in and other things like this. But I know for many people with influence marketing, also with general marketing, knowing what the right metrics are to look at and to track is challenging. So what are the right metrics to look at when running influencer campaigns? Yeah.
So again, we always have to start from purpose. But I think the one that people usually struggle with is on the less intuitive side of this equation is the brand side. Usually, like if you're going to do affiliate-based influencer partnerships, then you're going to track code redemptions and links, like how many people purchase after clicking the link or this sort of thing. If you need to attribute value to the brand side, my favorite right now is CPM, cost per 1,000 views, basically. How much do you pay for 1,000 views in one place? Because one thing is that it's quantifiable. It's comparable against other channels you do. So you can look at your Meta ads and your Google ads and the stuff that the CFO loves, and you can say, hey, influencer marketing can beat those channels on a CPM basis. And then kind of, so I really like CPM, and it also makes sense from the perspective of basically like what you want to do if you're doing brand-oriented influencer marketing is you want to express your category entry points to a lot of your customers repeatedly from an authentic source. So your category entry points are like, what problem did you have when you decided to go shopping for this product? And then you want to find a creator who can authentically express that category entry point, and you want them to get that in front of a large number of people at a low cost. Mispriced.
That makes sense, because there was this book. It was a really good book. If anyone watching this is interested in marketing, I would recommend this book. It's called How Brands Grow, and it was written by, have you read it? It was written by this guy. I think I might have recommended it to you at some point, but it was written by this Australian guy from the University of Adelaide, who's a professor of marketing science. So he's all about, actually figuring out what works. And he was going through, did this massive study with his team, and they found that a lot of the things that, a lot like loyalty or an existing customer is the best one to sell to because it gives you the best ROI or this sort of thing. A lot of these statements turn out not to be true. And the only thing that actually matters in growing a brand is being at the top of mind when the customer is ready to buy. And that boils down to one metric, which is CPM. Consistency or context and CPM.
I think
dropping out of university paid off.
I think it's also just a challenge with marketers in general anyway, though. It's like often CEOs, founders are pushing, hey, all of your campaigns need to be focused on revenue, right? Which makes sense. Like ultimately that's what we're trying to generate. And so many founders are looking at the metrics that lead in their eyes to revenue. So it's like, okay, did someone click this ad or this promotion and purchase the product? It's like, that's very easy to track. But what's not easy to track, and we see this, I have zero experience in the B2C space, creator economy space. But when I come at this from a B2B SaaS angle, for example, when we're running Google ads, right? If someone searches for a very, if I'm looking for an influencer marketing software, I search for that, I click the ad. If I see what I like, I'm going to sign up pretty much straight away.
Mm-hmm.
If I see an ad on LinkedIn where it's a sponsored post by a creator talking about how they're using a tool like this to help them source other creators, they're probably not going to click on this too often, but there's significant value here and the build up over time of being front of mind when someone is looking for a platform like this. And these are the things that you can't really track, but are significant rewards from doing influencer marketing.
Well, it's like YouTube ads, right? Like YouTube ads are notoriously difficult to attribute to revenue.
Right.
And so, like, I imagine if you were to say to your clients, like, we're going to start running YouTube ads, but we can't track anything, they're going to start feeling a little bit like...
And it's like on LinkedIn specifically, we have to look at influence pipeline instead as well. So it's like, of course, there are going to be deals that close where someone sees a LinkedIn ad, they click the ad, they book a demo or whatever, but this is so small. Whereas if we look at...
It's also a total lie.
Exactly.
Because they saw 900 other things before that, and then they called their homie at the other company and were like, hey, do you trust this Dylan guy? And then they booked a call.
Exactly. So it's like we have to use like supplementary tooling to look at other metrics. Like, okay, we can say if someone has seen ads from us on this channel 9 to 10 times or more, and then they visited the website at some point, we can say that LinkedIn ads have influenced that deal, right? But we're not saying it's the reason for that deal being won. And I think that's the hard side of any brand marketing or influencer marketing. It's like there is always going to be that downstream positive effect that isn't really trackable for marketers. Right. And this is I'm not an influencer marketing manager or something, but this must be one of their biggest challenges.
Absolutely.
Like, and reporting on this, right?
And I think my current theory is that it all is downstream from this purpose question, that nobody knows what they're actually trying to do, even the CEOs. Because if you think about what you said, like the CEOs want something that drives sales. Right. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Everybody wants something that drives sales. But what is the intention of, like, what kind of company are you trying to build? Because if you're willing to discount all of your products in the short term and not think about brand ever or customer experience even, you don't have to have customer support. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can just like find like the arbitrage on LinkedIn and spam an ad put $1 million in it. And in the next, you might be able to make a couple $1 million or whatever. But if you want to build something that's going to do hundreds of millions in revenue and end up in Walmart and like change the world in some small way, then you might have to think about some of these other things. So you have to start from the intention of what the business even is. Like, what is the vision for the company? If the vision is short-term cash flow, do whatever. Yeah, go crazy. But 95% of the market isn't buying right now. And so when they think about that problem, you want them to think of you. And I think sometimes it's like, it feels extremely complicated, but it's not that complicated. It's like, okay, if you sat down with pretty much any CEO and you said, hey, do you think that if every single one of your potential customers knew that you could solve their problem and heard about it from someone they trust, that it would be good for long-term cash flow? It's like,
I think so.
I don't know. Can we attribute it? It's like,
but that's the problem. It's like so many people, even CEOs, do want to be able to attribute everything. And I think that's like
I think they need to ask themselves why.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like, whether you attribute the dollar or not, it exists.
Yeah.
So like at Modash, for example, I know that it costs us 30 cents to buy $1. I have no idea whether it's LinkedIn posts that are doing it or our partnerships with LinkedIn creators, or if it's the newsletter that our customers really, really love, or if it's because our sales guys treat people really well and then they tell their friends. I know that all of those things happen sometimes, but I can't tell you which one of them gives us such an insane CAC.
That, for us sat here, makes so much sense to have that attitude. I cannot tell you how shocking it is to me how many founders or even marketing leads don't think that way though. And they're like, in their eyes, they're needing to attribute everything. Like even in the SaaS space, it's like I speak with hundreds of SaaS founders every year, and maybe 1 in every 5 or 10 is like, I don't need to know where everything is coming from as long as I can see that there's some kind of returns, right?
I think it's, and those people aren't insane. There's nothing like fundamentally wrong with that idea. I think that they sometimes mistake what they're supposed to do to solve that problem.
Right.
That's why I love the CPM metric right now, because it's like, if you're the marketing lead, you can think about like, okay, what is influencer marketing? Well, it's like this thing where we partner with people that our customers trust and we have them tell a story about how they authentically had this problem, and then we solved it for them. So Loop earplugs is a Modash customer most people are familiar with. And if you go to their website, you can see their category entry points. It's like how their whole website is structured. It's like Coachella Festival. Oh, you go to festivals, the music is really loud. Maybe you want some earplugs. Parent holding baby.
Yeah, that got me.
Yeah.
The parent one got me, dude. It did.
So
I bought earplugs because of that ad from Loop.
Exactly, yeah. So
I
then
also bought earplugs from Loop.
Shout out to the marketing team at Loop.
Marit, shout out to Marit at Loop.
Use the discount code Logan and Dylan.
Yeah, and so if the influencer marketing lead kind of thinks about what that is, recognizes their role as a lead, that's one problem we see in this space generally too, is people don't know that they're a lead. They think they're an individual contributor still. And so what you need to do is take your theory of what influencer marketing is supposed to be. Maybe you think I'm crazy and it's actually like a pure play performance channel, whatever, and then go sit down with your CMO or your CEO or whoever you report into and make an agreement. Do we agree that this is what we value, that we want to get these stories in front of our customers at a reasonable cost? And then if yes, can we measure the effectiveness of that on the basis of CPM? And if you have that internal agreement
and validate it on like an overall lift in revenue over a period of say maybe 3 months or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can look at other signals and kind of figure out whether, I mean, you can have an instinct about whether things work or not. To be honest, that gets even harder as companies get bigger, because then you're Google and you're doing influencer partnerships. It's like, did this attribute any revenue? It's like, is there any revenue left? And so
in the whole world.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And so you can go crazy and spend like $1 trillion calling, like having an Australian survey team call people locally and say, what messages do you associate with the brand Google? And if they say sustainability, then somebody gets a checkbox and congratulations, you're attributed. But does it really matter? I think at 10 to even 20 million in revenue, which most e-commerce stores aren't at, who listen to this show probably, even then you kind of know if the thing is working. And if you can measure it on a CPM basis and say it's beating meta ads where we get this many conversions for this cost at this CPM, and the stories are better and we can repurpose the assets and we have all this value that's baked into it.
Loop is a really interesting example because on a Facebook advertising or meta advertising level, I know they run like 5,000 ads at any given time.
Yeah.
And so at 5,000 ads, even with the best-in-class attribution tools, there's no way to know which ad's performing, which is really doing
that's
best.
probably just their ads too. That's not taking into account the creator partnerships that they're running. And other things
for sure.
Like this.
And then that's just like, it's probably, that's just Meta. And then they've got Google and everywhere else. So this is a brand that knows that, you can't track ROI on every single campaign.
What's your second option for buying earplugs like Loop?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even thought about it. Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Is there one?
I think the only thing which they've completely solved with positioning is you could go to Alibaba and buy a pack of 400 earplugs for $10 probably.
You didn't get tetanus or something.
Those little styrofoam things that you shove in there, but those aren't cool.
Yeah, those don't come in a cool case.
Yeah. And they're lower quality and they're like, you get to associate yourself with this. One thing I love about marketing, and part of what, like, when I think about my childhood, I was always obsessed with these like world building things. Like I loved Legos. I liked little army men and like this.
Are you a Minecraft guy?
I was a Minecraft guy. And I love this kind of world building concept. And I think that's what's so cool about marketing, like great marketing. It builds a new, like we now live in a world where Loop is the only option.
Yeah, that's
like,
funny, right?
How cool is that?
Do you think about that, and have you thought about that through your journey? Like when you came to Estonia or you build international teams and company, are you seeing this as like a way that you're world building in your adult years?
I only thought about it recently, but I think that is a little bit what I like about it. Like what's cool about, Nike is like a perfect example of world building. We went from a world where people didn't even go jogging for fun to a world where everyone is an athlete.
Run clubs is a big thing now too on the weekend, right?
Yeah. It wasn't even like a hobby activity people did when Nike really started cranking off. It was like in New Zealand, they went to New Zealand or something, found these people like running on the road for fun, and they're like, oh, we could make this a big thing.
Yeah, that sounds like New Zealand, right?
And so I think that's like, it's so cool that, you are like world building, and it's interesting.
And you and the team are scaling at the moment, growing into multiple different markets, right? Like, how are you handling that approach of growing in the US versus Europe, for example?
I checked before the show, and we have customers in like 75 countries or something like that, which is crazy. the nature of how we did our world building is that actually most of our revenue comes from the US today. We just didn't have that much presence there. And that's because the way we did marketing was pretty inbound driven. It reached a lot of people. It just tried to create we just thought like, okay, if we make the best content in the space, then probably it'll work out. And that's what happened. And so people from everywhere find that and need the advice and so on. And so we have lots of density in the US. I think the biggest kind of sort of shock for me, and I am Canadian by roots, but my entire adult life has been in Europe. So I don't really have I don't have much of a business advantage as like knowing the context of Americans or something like that. But the biggest shock to me in setting up our New York office and spending time with marketers and stuff there is that Canadians are terrified about how different Americans are. And what's interesting about that is that here in Estonia, in Europe, how I hear founders and people talk is like, yeah, we'll figure out that America's like, what the heck? They're probably the same as us. Yeah. And the Canadians are like, these Americans are like so strange and unique. How do we crack this code?
I feel weird about this sometimes because I know like, expanding into the US is such a core topic and focus for so many European founders. Sometimes I sit down and I think like people are making way too big of a deal out of this.
Yeah.
But like, because like the US is a huge market. So I don't mean from that perspective, but like, do you really need to drastically rethink your entire business and marketing strategy just because the person is American? Like
when we expanded our e-commerce brand into America, it was completely by accident and it just took off. You know, it became like the majority.
Because like I think the nature of business now is like so many of us, for example, at Hey Digital, we have team members in 15, 16 different countries, 40 people. I'm based in Estonia. We have clients all over the world. Like there's not been a single moment in time where I've thought, how do I get in front of US companies versus European companies? Like how do I do it differently? And that seems to be counterintuitive to most people. And I don't understand why. Like sometimes I sit here and I'm like, why does everyone make such a big deal of how complex it is to expand into the US? But maybe
maybe it is a big deal.
Yeah, like maybe I'm being stupid with this. I don't know. Because like you just made it seem like it wasn't really that big of a deal.
Well, yeah, for us, it like getting a foothold isn't that big of a deal. And I think that's kind of what you're saying too, is that like, you know, adding a couple million in revenue in the US, if you have a strong business around the rest of the world, isn't going to be rocket science.
Yeah, it should be easy, I think.
Yeah, I think yes, absolutely. That part should probably feel not too hard.
Yeah.
The challenging part is if you want to add 100 million in revenue. I think that's when you have to start thinking a little bit differently about like how people make purchasing decisions. Yeah.
Are you thinking like that? Because I'm not. I'm not trying to build like 100 million business. So do you think that way?
Yeah, for us, it's like...
You're just ragging on his strategy.
No, but like,
no, I didn't feel that way.
Because for me, it's like I can build. We're 3 million in revenue right now, and there's a very clear path to 5, 10, pretty straightforward, and I'm good with that. Like I'm building a service business. I'm not trying to change the.
But if you
change
were
the world,
if you were specifically trying to expand to the US, would you change tracks? Or
I don't think so, because it's like the US is a core market of ours. But I don't
so whatever you're doing right now seems
I
to
don't
be
do anything any differently to specifically focus on attracting US companies versus European companies.
Yeah. I think that probably like you essentially, because you said, again, we start from purpose. Your intention is to build a company that does like several million in revenue, and I think does change the world in some small way. I wouldn't discount yourself in that way. I think that the nature of what a lot of startups are, at least in theory, some people are kind of cosplaying, I think, but in theory, what we're trying to do is to compress that into like 30 days and then try to add 100 million in revenue in, a few years.
Right.
And so that means that all of the learnings that you're building and getting incrementally, you probably talk to an American, you're like, oh, it seems like they don't really care about what we do so much as Europeans. They care more about how we're different. They just assume what we do.
Right.
And that learning, I have to get on day zero or I'm screwed.
Right. And how important is that to you when you're then building your own internal team as well? Because you have remote team or like multiple.
Yeah, we're basically fully remote. Yeah.
Right. And so how much are you thinking about, does that come into your thinking at all with hiring? Like, are you looking, I want someone that's experienced in the US market or this market? Or?
Yeah, for sure. Like we start hiring now in Toronto mostly. It's like there's a great discount on Canadian talent if you're selling in America because they cost the same number in like if you look at the salary, it's still like whatever your OTE is, 200K as a salesperson.
It's like 12% discount or something.
Oh, it's like 40%.
And they accept payment in maple syrup, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maple syrup and like anti-polar bear gear, you know. But so we hire there for sure, and it's been an interesting like cultural experience actually to hire people in Canada.
Does that feel weird for you, like being a Canadian that's not lived in Canada for a while?
A little bit, yeah. You know, when I go there, then I don't know who I am.
Yeah, I feel like that with the UK. I'm like,
yeah, I go to an event and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, Estonia, Novus, like.
Germany.
Yes.
Isn't it cool though how like building a business can enable, like I know that's not the only reason, but building a business has enabled us to have this like not change in identity, but open up the identity and have these new experiences. It's so cool. Like
it's so cool.
And to think that started from you, like did you open a e-residency company or?
I think I had to get e-residency the first time. Maybe to sign like some documents when I was just thinking to move here the first time or something like that. Yeah, that's when I first became an e-resident. And then when I got here, I was on a university visa until I went to LHV to open the company account. And it turns out if you don't show up to school for like 3 or 4 months, then they won't sponsor your visa anymore. So the LHV clerk, just the bank clerk, just took my identity card and picked up the phone, made a phone call, and then cut it in half right in front of me.
Really?
Yeah. And then I was there with no visa. And then I switched to startup visa after that.
I think you meant your bank card.
No.
Holy moly. Like, you're not going anywhere, boy.
Even worse, dude. It was my entire legal basis for being here.
Oh, wow.
The passport too, gone. You know, like, you're never leaving.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Do you think that now, like just coming back a little bit, internationalizing has taken on a different maybe meaning? Because like when I think about markets or buying something, I really don't care where it comes from. Like if it's, so long it's like it seems like a trusted source. I mean, everything comes from China, but like let's say if I want to buy a consumer product or if I want to buy a service, okay, I just want to find a brand that I like. And usually that would be, or a service provider that I like, and that usually that will come down to the fact that like I've seen some of their content, I trust them. Yeah. It doesn't really matter that they're like, they have to be from New Zealand or they have to be British or something. You're working across so many markets. Do you see this?
So I can say that North Americans are more skeptical of, at least like maybe if your HQ's in Germany or something, you don't have that problem. A lot of people, like I said, Canadians don't know where Estonia is. So that does create like, some of our customers, like, for example, have you guys heard of Ground News? They're like a news bias app. They're one of the biggest payers of YouTubers on earth right now.
Really?
And they use Modash to transfer money. So they send us like a few $1,000,000 and then their team can pay creators through Modash based on that. And so for a company like that who's making this decision, like, do we want to transfer like several $1,000,000 to like, where's Estonia? What is this? Then, so I think being in sort of those not uncommon European countries, probably it's the same thing if you're like in Italy, the CFO is like a little bit like, but yeah, so that's one thing is we've had to find ways to like build trust. And I'm even thinking about, do we have to have like an about Estonia page or something like that? Yeah.
Maybe that's because of the nature of the businesses that we run though. I don't know. Because it's like when you build international teams, you work with different suppliers from all around the world. It's like for me, that's become the normal. So I would actually much rather hire people or work with providers in different locations if I see that their team members are better or stronger, which in most cases they are.
I think sometimes like, now that I think about it, Ground News is like a relatively modern young company as well. And we're kind of like, I would go to say that we're we're in the new generation of entrepreneurs and stuff. And I think, a lot of it is sort of skepticism passed down from the previous generation, right? Because we get to just like chill out and have like really strong banking regulation and like international law and stuff like that. And maybe not that long ago, you actually kind of did have to worry about whether or not you were going to get any of those services that you paid for.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's like times have changed pretty significantly with this, I guess.
That's what I mean. It's like as times do change, and the culture around internationalization changes. Like there's not that hardcore skepticism. Even I went to China. Like I think China would be one of the most like contrarian cultures to our Western culture, and that I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah,
and I had been sending them hundreds of thousands in for product and stuff before I even went there. The client, the supplier. So like it feels like very normal.
Yeah, and it feels like the next biggest shift and change that would be kind of crazy if we didn't mention is like the evolving role of AI within business right now, right? Yeah. And in the creator economy too, I'm sure it's going to have like pretty significant implications, right? It's just like I was looking at what you guys are doing. So I know you're already made changes and introduced new features within product with AI utilization. Like what do you see? How is the creator economy gonna change with the introduction of AI?
Yeah, I mean, one cool thing is that it's way easier to create really awesome stuff. That's kind of cool because a lot of content creators are, like I said, these one man, one woman shows making movies basically. And so the fact that probably like the cost of doing proper CGI will be nearly zero. We'll have like Canva for Marvel movies, it's and so we'll probably see people making really, really incredible stuff. I think Hollywood is like really at risk in that regard. And so, I think that part's really cool. I think like people really need to get on top of their personal expectations of their own data privacy. I think there's sort of like a really naive expectation that like GDPR is going to save you, or so, like the European government is going to take care of you or something. Like when you see a scientific revolution, which is amazing, like, oh, we detected cancer from a photo, you have to reflect on what that means for all of the photos on Facebook that you have like publicly shared with the universe. And so if you don't want someone to be able to determine like literally every little detail of your life from the things you post online,
all your trauma,
think about your privacy. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that there's an AI that can give you like a sense of whatever my like list of mental illnesses are. I'm sure based on the way that I tell stories and the way that I go down these crazy rabbit holes and the speed of my voice, I'm sure that just from this piece of content, people will be able to determine a lot about me.
Does that scare you or that excites you?
No, it excites me because I'm like a huge proponent of individual responsibility. I think it's like, it's really exciting because we're going to cure like tons of disease. We're going to make people's lives way better with this technology. And and I think that's totally worth people having to like think twice before they put a picture of their kid on the internet.
Yeah. And how do you bring that into the day-to-day right now? Like what does a day look like for you with utilizing AI to support you?
I mean, for a while it was like it was crippling to think about because it's like it was really you're basically in the I don't know if you guys have ever seen those things where it's like this is what they thought the year 2000 would be like, and it's like
flying cars and all this stuff.
Yeah, but it's not even a flying car; it's like a flying horse or something. And so it's and so we're kind of, I feel like we're now drawing those comics, those things. This is what we think the year will look like in 3000, and you try to piece together this super multifaceted system of how is everything going to change, and you can only do so much. But I think so at first it was just super distracting. It was sucking like so much energy, and then things became clearer. And at least in our space, I have like a decent concept of how this is going to look. And I think in software in general, I actually think like AI's implication on software is less complicated than people think it is. I think basically you're just going to collapse a whole bunch of screens. Like the thing that doesn't change is that people buy software to solve problems. And so just give me less buttons to click. That's what AI does. I don't want to fill forms. I don't want to for Modash, for example, we're a search platform. And right now we make people like click buttons to indicate what they want from search. It's like, how about you just learn everything about my company and then recommend me like 150 people? And then the limit on that is how much control do humans want. I want to click as few buttons as possible and have control over key things. I don't want AI to send emails under my name because I'm scared it's going to say something whatever horrible, and then it's going to risk my reputation. But I want it to write the email. I want to look at the email and be like, yeah, this is good enough. Click send. But so everything just gets compressed, I think, down to a few buttons and whatever the control limit is that humans want.
And I think as someone who's creating something, whatever it might, you're a developer, you're a content creator, whatever I think it's just going to give you, it's just going to 10x whatever your output is, and give you the ability to do even, like you said before, like even cooler stuff.
Yeah, totally. I do think people kind of have to rethink what they love about what they do. I think that's really important. Most of the people, like if you've ever worked with somebody who's really exceptional, generally they enjoy what they do a lot. And this now introduces a paradigm shift for like the excellent software engineer. Their job has now changed significantly. We have a joke internally. It's like basically engineer's job is like those people who spend too much time in the casino. You just press tab over and over again to accept the cursor prompt. And so like cursor fills in the code and you just press tab to accept. And so, I think like if you have to rethink like how are you going to spend your time to make sure you still get whatever that creative love is you had for building stuff before, where you're going to get it from. Because some people are just falling into like, oh, it's so sad, I'm going to lose my job and everything's changing and everything's bad. I think you really have to think about where's the good in this? Where can I spend more time?
And I feel like the people that say that are always going to say that about something, whether it's AI, whether it's something else. There's always something that's going to cause them to.
Wasn't rock music going to like turn us all into Satan worshippers or something like that?
Are you not one?
Yeah. You missed that memo. Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, just on influencer marketing strategy, do you think there's a B2B application for influencer marketing?
Yeah, we do B2B influencer marketing.
Dude, 100%.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Did we sponsor you once?
No, not me.
Okay,
Not yet. We can if you want. Though.
Yeah, sure, let's do a deal.
But for sure, like for me personally, I see this a ton. I would actually say in the last 12 months, this has been the biggest like channel growth for SaaS companies. Of, like the ones that are leaning into influencer marketing are seeing the most success right now. There are like a bunch of examples. Like you said, you're running campaigns like this.
I would do 10 times more if I could.
Yeah. And like instantly the cold email tool, like these guys have been crushing it with this. That like the SaaS companies that are seeing the most success right now from an advertising perspective, many of them are running like influencer campaigns at scale. So I think so personally.
E-commerce is seeing the same thing. Like if you're relying solely on advertising, then you're probably not in business anymore. But if you are doing more like this kind of organic stuff, then it.
And the question is it really organic though? Because it's like it's not organic, right? People think it's organic, but it's not in most cases.
No, I mean even organic social media is not organic.
Yeah.
There's it's can't. So when you work with your clients, do you guys get involved in the strategy and advising them on what they should and shouldn't do?
If they pay you enough, right?
No, actually, the opposite. So we don't sell any services. That's like as a rule. That has killed a lot of companies in our space because marketing agencies are super lucrative and cool businesses. So once you start dabbling in one, then you get distracted and you can't build software anymore. And so we have a rule not to sell services. But what we do is the way we run our sales process and the way we do marketing and the way we do customer success is all aligned kind of against our theory of influencer partnerships. And we try to walk people through that strategy as part of every step of that journey. So when you show up in a sales call, what the sales guy is doing to you is filling out a framework called PERM, like the fuzzy hair.
PERM.
Yeah. And it starts with purpose and then identify and then recruit and then manage and measure. And once we've talked you through like all of those stages, you are ready to buy the Modash software because you have a strategy that's defined and our product is built to do good influencer strategy. So as long as our customer has a good strategy, they're like, this product is a no-brainer. And so that's how we do sales. That's how we do success. Everything comes back to make the customer successful with their strategy by aligning it to the purpose that the company has.
Is that a framework that you built yourself or you learned this from?
Actually, there's a marketing professor in Australia who has a PERM and no.
He's like, I know this guy.
Yeah.
I read his book.
I got my PERM from him too.
No, we invented it because basically when I did sales, when I was the only person doing sales, then I had no idea how to do influencer partnerships. Like I didn't know anything about anything really. Like I had done some influencer partnerships, whatever, but I wasn't an expert by any means. And so the way I sold people was I would just ask them a whole bunch of questions like, so what are you trying to do? It's like, oh, we want to do this. It's like, okay, but like what sucks about doing that right now? It's like, well, recruiting people is really hard. It's like, what do you mean? Well, I have to send a lot of emails and it's annoying. Okay, so you want to like send less emails. It's like, okay, what if you just wrote better emails and then more people would respond? It's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And like basically that was how and then eventually we built an email tool. And so that's kind of how sales naturally evolved. And then we tried to, for a very short period of time, like Medic and these traditional sales frameworks. It was like, this is not who we are. We are good at helping customers actually do what they want to do and be the first person to ask them, what is the company trying to accomplish? That's where our special sauce lies. And so we just doubled down on that and invented PERM. And yeah.
This conversation so far has been very interesting for me personally. I'm sure it has been for the people that are watching too. We have a few like quick fire questions that we love to ask our guests before we round things off.
And then also you're going to sign a cup. This is one of our traditions.
Cool.
And whilst you're doing that, we'll ask you a few questions as well. Let's multitask.
Oh, okay, cool. Sure, let's go.
When you go to a cafe like this one that we're sat in today, what would be your go-to order?
Black coffee.
Nice.
Filter.
Oh, really? Like just straight Americano?
Filter,
like
right?
filter coffee. Yeah.
I love a filter coffee. Yeah.
Lots of caffeine. You just get the jitters right away.
What's your favorite business book?
I like biographies. Sometimes are better than these sort of like very linear books about business. And Made in America, the Sam Walton book is really great. There's some really cool lessons in there.
And how about productivity hack? What's your favorite productivity hack?
Figure out and embrace who you are, and don't worry too much about what productivity hacks you're supposed to employ. Operate within the, it's like, is it Karate Kid or something like that where they say, it's not about fighting your enemy. It's about using your enemy's momentum against them.
Yeah.
And that's how you want to treat productivity as well. I think you want to, whatever it is, whatever the quirks, whatever the struggles, some things you'll have to completely eliminate and make sure that the things that are important to you are front and center as much as possible. If TikTok's not important, it shouldn't be front and center. So put the things that matter in front of you and then figure out who you are and what you are so that you can work with it. That's my productivity.
So the next quick question then is, who are you and what do you stand for?
And what is the meaning of life?
In 3 sentences.
What's a webpage every founder should know?
And
it can't be Modash.
Or ChatGPT.
Yeah, or ChatGPT,
Wait, I'm almost done with this word here. A web page that every founder should know.
Or business owner, founder, yeah.
I can't think of exactly what the name of the page is. It's a bit obscure. It's like a random Notion page. But there's some Ukrainian founder, I think, who has aggregated like a whole bunch of interesting like handbooks and internal cultural guides and onboarding guides and remote working guides and stuff from sort of famous companies, GitLab and whatever, and aggregated all of them. And I found them really interesting just to go look. Sometimes, at least for me, I never had a real job. So it's really difficult to understand, like, what even am I aiming at sometimes?
Dude, I know that feeling.
And so that's been really helpful. And another great one that's easier to find is Patrick Collison from Stripe. Right. His blog, the article titled Fast. It's essentially a list of things that will make you feel bad about not being able to build your company faster. It's like, oh yeah, they built like the Brooklyn Bridge in 7 minutes or whatever. And he just has a list of things that like illustrate to people what speed really means.
Who's your dream advisor? This is the last question.
Brian Chesky.
Who's that?
The CEO of Airbnb.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure lots of good reasons, but what's yours?
I think like design and like Brian's ability to like leverage a non-obvious skill set into a very clear competitive advantage is exceptional. Like the fact that Brian and the co-founders were designers is the reason Airbnb succeeded, which is very rare. I think he's the only Fortune 500 CEO who comes from a design background.
Really?
And
I'm screwed then.
Dude, I would like, there's so much value in design. That's
yeah. And I think there's a really interesting lesson even just in the fact that the thing that made them different is the thing that made them win. Like mediocrity has a gravitational pull, and you want to get as far away from that medium, standard, average, normal, best practice, good idea advice as you possibly can, and like escape the matrix or whatever.
Okay, what's on the cup? You need to talk us through.
You gotta share with the camera here.
We have help every creator earn a living, the Modash mission.
But I think that's a good place to leave it. So Avery, that was really interesting. You know, like I came away from this. I already knew a lot about influencer marketing. I already knew about content creation. I didn't realize I was a content creator. So that was enlightening. But this has been super interesting for me.
Thanks. It was really fun. Yeah, I had a really good time, actually. I could do that. I could go another 2 hours if you want.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, we'll extend, yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries.
And for anyone who's reached the end of this episode, make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you can check out the next one.
I'm Logan Merrick.
And I'm Dylan Hay.
Catch you next time.